Good day, people. This is President of ADEC Academy. I am literally coming back to you about the lectures. This is our second lecture on the evolution of philosophy argued. This is actually presented by myself, which is ADEC President, on our second lecture, which is it's all about Plato, the dramatist of reason. I'm going to be presenting this, and I'm hoping that this is not going to be long, because this is our short lectures that will take 21 days, and we're hoping that will actually make more sense in terms of giving our view as an academy, as our academy is actually, consists of, we are a philosophical organization, and we focus more on philosophy, that is economics, management, and other academic, sectors. Yes. So I'm going to be brief about Plato's background. I'm not going to be more about that. Just going to be brief. Plato was 29 years old when his teacher, Socrates, died, of which in the course of his lengthy life, Plato used dialogues and inherently dramatic form just to pour forth a complete system of philosophy. He was a polymath at work. He was equally comfortable writing on ethics, epistemology, metaphysics, political philosophy, and aesthetics, which is the philosophy of art. And he made quite a lot of contributions to every branch of philosophy, leaving behind a system of thought that is breathtaking in breadth and path. So this is pretty much of what I'm going to be talking. Just to quickly look at his life, Plato, he was actually born to a distinguished family, of which his father Ariston and mother Perictione, they were said to have been descendants of the god Poseidon, And in the year Plato was born, Socrates was 42 years old. It is evident that Plato's writings, that Socrates' life and thought served as an inspiration and foundation for Plato's philosophy. He became a student. He became a pupil of Socrates, one of the youths who followed Socrates a lot when Socrates was actually starting to do those questioning in Athens, like in trying to examine like people's thoughts and all of that. Plato was part of that. He was actually the student. He was a good follower of Socrates. He was actually one of the most students that have actually drank quite a lot of that pool of Socrates. And he was also present at Socrates' trial, which is it happened under an Athenian democracy, and under Athenian democracy, he had witnessed the collapse of Athens and the execution of Socrates. As a result, he conjectured, that perhaps democracy was not the correct form of government, and the state should be ruled. Those were his thoughts, his view, ruled by one person with adequate knowledge, which Plato would call it a philosopher king. Just to look at that, we are going to actually tap on that. I just want us to look at Plato's dialogues. What they were all about. The character, personality, and ideas of Socrates are front and center in Plato's earliest dialogues. For this reason, for this only reason, they have been called his Socratic dialogues. Most of them explore one or more of Socrates' ethical notions. They read at once like devoted portraits of his teacher and argumentative and all of that. So that is actually the view of Plato, or perhaps like a role that was played by Socrates in Plato's life. You can imagine when a student has actually, learned a lot from his professor and all of that. So obviously, he might have actually, I should say that his build-up was made of Socrates. Every method and applications in every thoughts and every, whether book written and all of that, they were actually developed by the thoughts of Socrates. I'm referring to Plato now. And just to look at these dialogues, it is believed that these dialogues represent the ideas of the historical Socrates. This is what I've just said. And it is agreed that the Apology, Crito, Euthyphro, Chamis, Laches, and Lysis are among the earliest of Plato's dialogues. Those were the dialogues. If you remember, in Socrates' time, Euthyphro was there, and Crito was there. So these are some of the things that actually influence quite a lot of Plato's thoughts, Plato's thinking. I want us to look on. By the way, I'm going to actually look at Plato's essentials and Plato's insights. But now I just want to tap on this essential under Plato, which is when Plato talks about the mathematical level of knowing, the influence of Pythagoras. It is literally apparent. Like Pythagoras, he thought that the world at a deeper level was mathematical in nature. Yeah, and all of that. So when you talk about mathematics, we should come to mind that Pythagoras was part of that, because Pythagoras was a sort of like a mathematician. And in this regard, in this essential, Plato's essential, Pythagoras is very much apparent there. And when we look at his insights, which is Plato's insight, he said, which is Plato, philosophers desire to know the true being of things or forms. The person holding opinions cannot describe the essence or real being of justice. Knowledge seeks what truly is. It is concerned with being. Our phenomenal world, known by the senses, is a world of change and becoming. The forms have an independent existence in a realm of being. You can actually read there that even the statement or his insight is more of a dramatist, because it's a bit dramatic, because why would you put something like that in that context, But it is thoughts. We can critique, but it is thoughts. You have a right to say it. Political doctrine, according to Plato, political theory is married with moral theory. In his masterwork, The Republic, Socrates searches for the nature and value of justice. The dialogue progresses by following an analogy between the soul of individual man and the constitution of the state. Indeed, Plato held that the state is like a giant person, as justice is the general virtue of the moral person, so also it is justice that characterizes the good society. He's very much on point on that. But I want us to look at his insights. It was his way of thinking about the political doctrine, what he was actually saying there. And his insight, Plato showed that the idea of virtue as a fulfillment of function is indispensable to his moral and political ideas, just as things like hammers and cars have functions. So Plato also thought that the soul had a function. If doctors and musicians and craftsmen are acting well, when they are performing their arts correctly, so too a soul is acting well when it is living properly, living well is a kind of a art. That's his view. And by the way, he also saw that close a parallel between the art of music and the art of living. I want us to look at his philosophical king. I mean, when he mentioned that like a person that is supposed to lead the state, he's supposed to be a person that is more knowledgeable. And when that person is more knowledgeable, he made an example that that person should have that philosophical character. And he called it philosopher king. I want us to understand what does he mean by that. A philosopher king and the decline of the idea state. Plato has said that a state governed by a reason, a state with justice, is an ideal one. Individuals and states without of control, drives and appetites end in strife. That is eternal anarchy for harmony and all of that. That is his ideas and all of that. In Philosophical King, which is obviously was a philosophy, I want us actually to look on his actually insight. What is he thinking of the insight? Plato said that the ideal society he described in his Republic can never grow into a reality or see the light of day, and there will be no end to the troubles of states, or indeed of humanity itself, till philosophers become kings in this world, or till those we know call kings and rulers really and truly become philosophers. That's his insight, that's his thoughts and all of that. So I want us to look at the other insight about the Republic, which is Plato spells out what he thinks is wrong with painting and poetry. Both kinds of artists are ignorant of the true nature of their subjects. Defenders of art respond that one can be ignorant and still be a splendid poet. But Plato says ignorance of medicine is inconsistent with being regarded as an expert doctor. But Homer's ignorance shows that one can be a poet without being knowledgeable. Well, that's his argument. That's his point of argument, of which it's his thoughts, it's his insights. We cannot. But you see, when you look at this shows that when it comes to philosophy, other people have got different views, because when you listen to Plato, he's actually critiquing other people's views, but actually promoting philosophy. But I haven't actually got the gist of himself as a philosopher. What was his ideas, more than being actually writing about Socrates' ideas and all of that. This needs to be argued. This desires an argument about philosophy, because philosophy is the love of wisdom. So he's got to come up with his own blueprint, with his own thoughts, with his own ideas, So for me, I think this needs more meaty. It needs to be more meaty than what I'm actually reading here. I want us to have a look on his evaluation and significance. His importance in his own time and for centuries to come is beyond dispute. He went beyond Socrates, his teacher, in developing a system of knowledge that includes every area of philosophy. His ideas about the forms and the different faculties to know realities, the soul, his political doctrines and art are well-argued philosophies. Well, I'm thinking that it may not be greater praise that has been given to a philosopher than that, of which some of the American philosophers, the likes of Alfred Not Whitehead, which is they bestowed Plato and all of that. But I believe that more can be done than this, But either than that, he's a dramatist. So you can imagine a philosophy on dramatist. He will come up with his own ways of thoughts and all of that. But for me, this actually needed to be more improved and more wisdom than this. Thank you for the time, and we'll actually come back to other 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 philosopher and tap more on that, what are their thoughts and all of that. But towards the end, we'll give our thoughts and everything, our insights as an academy, so that we can easily understand why this needs to be argued, this type of philosopher needs to be argued. Thank you.